Hi, Dan Paulson here, and due to recent popularity, I'm going to do another video on YouTube Christians. There's a certain type of Christian. I want to make clear that there are many, what are 33 to 44,000 different Christian denominations on the planet today. You can't just say Christian. It's a blanket term. It's too broad. There's a certain kind of personality that is a Christian that I'm very specifically referring to, and I want to make that clear. I know people that are Christians that don't get on here and act this way at all. So you can't put them in the same category. This is about conduct, not about belief. All right. That having been said, there was comments made recently that it's perfect. It goes along and it continually gives us an opportunity to examine some things that people come at you with and kind of see a little bit more what's behind the scenes. I want to show you something right here. And before I do, there was a couple of videos that I just posted recently about YouTube Christians and science being an oxymoron. This is kind of in that series of videos right there. They're just within the last week or so. So if you want to have a look at those, I'll go ahead and post a link down below. I want to just read the initial comment and talk about it. The numbers game again. I raise. Sounds like Harold Camping Wink does it. 4. Okay, let me talk about that for a second here. First of all, as I read it, the numbers game again. All right, so we know that what I'm doing as I come up with numbers in the Bible, yeah, people have been working at this for a long time. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Sounds like Harold Camping does it. All right, the thing that I'm going to look at right here is, number one, I see that he is like, oh, right, yeah, not this again, number one. But what really got my attention was the little facial things there. That's what made me go, no, this is the person. Okay. You look at stuff like that. Really think about it. When you do things like that, winking at people like that, I think of, like, I don't know, high school girls or something like that. Or somebody that is young and uses those, but they're doing so in one of the recent videos, and that's why I mention it. Somebody was responding to me with an air of superiority, same sort of a thing. You don't know where they're coming from. They don't throw anything on the table. And he was calling me Daniel. Well, Daniel. So when you're doing things like that, that's a person trying to somehow, it feels like the person's trying to become familiar, or they're trying to, like, somehow sidle up to you. And we're not there. That's not okay. So right away, I get this sensation of disingenuousness on the part of the person. The easiest way to look at this is to put yourself in that position. If you're talking to somebody and you don't know them and they're a stranger and you have a topic to talk to them with and you're continually using their first name in a phrase, what is behind that? That is not a normal thing. That has an intent. And you know what? Practice that in your mind. Just explore that. You're talking to somebody, a stranger. You don't agree with them. You don't. You want to talk to them. You know their name is John. They don't know your name. You've hidden your name. But you talk to them and say, so is this your belief, John? What do you say, John? You want to have a chat about this, John? Would you do that? There's something behind that if you're doing that. That is what they have going on. But you got to have your head cleared to see it. Determining the intent, you have to be careful. You have to be open-minded. You can't just say, oh, they're doing this, or they're doing that. We have to have the mote cleared from our own eye first. Once you've got everything resolved and you've stepped back and you don't have your own issues, that's really when you begin to start seeing it clearly. When you're hooked up with your own issues and you're trying to make the judgment, you're judging through your own filters. So that has to be known, that as you're trying to observe somebody else and what they're doing, the more pure your mind is, the better you will see that there's a couple of possibilities that could be behind it, not necessarily just one. So again, step back. You're in a higher position. You're observing. You don't have to engage. This person is trying to. You're going down there and pushing a button. Then you're stepping up here and watching them do what they're doing. They don't know that. Their head can't get there. And ultimately, your lack of response is what gives them their moral victory. You can't. They don't know. You won't. They think they're in charge. You're just watching them run circles. And I get the same thing from this. I look at that and go, yep, the person, there's something in there that needs to be looked at. If you're posting little faces like that, there's something behind that. And I knew right off the bat, all right, here it is. This person's easy to spot. They advertise what they're up to. Ultimately, if you're disconnected enough from the emotional state of the world and life and observing people, what you realize is that the way that they're acting is there's cause and effect, and what you're seeing is effect, and that there's a cause behind it, and the words are not typically accurate. They can be accurate or they can be a shield, and you recognize that, and you see what is behind it. What you're doing here is looking behind the words. You're seeing the drive of the person. You're seeing something at a deeper level than what you see on the surface. And though I really didn't want to make light of it, the Harold Camping thing, he was some guy from California, he was one of those weird guys that was like predicting the end of the world. There is not a damn thing like that in my channel. So this guy comes preloaded with ignorance and is going to just tell you what you're about and has no idea. Okay, back to this one. We're just going to do a quick analysis. The smiley face, okay, yep, that's the one to go for. Now, what else do we have? There was a couple of people talking at the same time on the thread. No, actually, one guy and I were having a conversation. Where is it? Oh, the One Day a Martian guy. And he said something. He posted down some logical fallacy. And then all of a sudden, this guy, the Chabarushka guy, jumped in. I was outdoors in bright sunlight, and I did not... I responded to the wrong guy. I told Jabruska that he was just throwing down logical fallacy when I should have been telling the Martian guy. I just made a mistake. I replied when I got back home. I got at the computer. It was like, okay, logical fallacy came from the Martian guy. My apologies. I was out in bright sunlight and it looked like the same symbol. I thought I was responding to him. Now I'm indoors and oops. You did not issue logical fallacy, but only because you won't talk about your beliefs. You actually offered much less than logical fallacy. You guys are fun to play with. I call these Pharisee drills. And of course, I do things like that I use biblical things to see what they come up with. Anyway, right after telling him, I apologize, he says, no fallacies at all. What do we have right there? Hey, dude, made a mistake. Oh, so no logical fallacy. What did I just say? My apologies. Okay. Is there something cognitively wrong? It occurs why you can't see patterns. Read my first comment, goober. I should not have called him goober, but oh well. You know what? And that's why you look at it and go, really? Come on. And then he comes back with, you don't name any logical fallacies, which means you can't name any or there are none. So anyway, you can see the humor in that. And then in the end, it's like, haha, I won. I got a victory because you didn't have a logical fallacy. Yeah. That's a strange thing, isn't it? That's not, you look deep and you bottom out pretty fast. Okay. Again, it was just for popularity. I don't mean to pick on anybody, but if you're going to come at me and be that way, you know what? The measure you meet. I know the material and I know that it is science-based. Psychological based. It is not based in letting people push you around, but it's also not based in being aggressive against people who are looking for answers that are doing nothing harmful. Yeah. Whatever you do to represent Christianity is not a good thing. I think that when you look large enough at Christianity and what it is, and there's many people in this camp that say we're all the same because we believe in God. The people like that, think that through. That would mean that you have a God up there that's looking down and saying, you know what, your varied value systems across the board are meaningless to me. I just want your worship. That's a narcissist. Think it through. Shouldn't God be somebody that says, I don't care if you believe in me or not. I don't care if you deny me. What I want to know is if you're willing to love and help others and to work together to try and make society better without being in fear of me. That's what I care about. And if you're that kind of a person, if you can be right on your own without being afraid, you're somebody. If you're just afraid of me, you know what? I need to clarify something. It is fear. At the core, nobody would say that. They would say it's love. I love God. I love Jesus. It's love. It's love. It's love. What is at the core? What if you didn't? What would happen in your belief system if you didn't believe? What would happen? you would go to hell forever. It's fear-based. You were taught that if you don't believe, you will go to hell forever. And when you accept that, when you make that agreement, well, you're going to live that way. As a child, I came from a home of abuse, physical and mental. We were whipped routinely with a belt while somebody lost control. It wasn't a spanking. It was you would have welts on your chest, your legs, thigh. You'd get racked. It'd be across your back, your butt. You'd get held and just get wailed on. And often we were told, you're damn dumb. You'll never amount to anything. You're stupid kids. We went to church 3 times a week. We prayed to God at night, my brother and I. I was 9 years old. He was 11. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then we would look and make sure nobody was within earshot. Mom watching. And we would pray extra to Jesus to please come and help. Please make her stop. Please come and do something. Please talk to her. And Jesus didn't come, and we got beat. And the reason I picked that age right there, 9 and 11, that was our age. Sunday, one November day, coming home from church, and Larry was talking to me about, they had talked a lot about heaven in Sunday school that day. I remember certain things he was saying. We could eat anything we want. As kids, we weren't allowed to have dessert or things like that. That was special, set aside. It just wasn't common, so we felt bad about that. Our cat had gotten killed. I remember him saying, we can see Blackie. We can eat whatever we want. Nobody will beat us. We can play all day. And then about an hour later, I found him in the woods after he'd hung himself. There was a reprieve for a while, but the beatings eventually began again. And by the age of 15, I ran away from home. I had nowhere to go, but I didn't care. I was ready to do something, but I wasn't going to stay there. So I went to Seattle. I had been there before. I knew people panhandled. I thought, well, that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm a kid. I got dirty. People would give me food and things like that. But it wasn't more than maybe a week and a half or something like that. And people that had been talking to me routinely, a couple of guys said, man, dude, you're a kid. You don't belong out here. You're going to die. And they took me in and molested me. Life continued on. I got married. My first wife, she called me up one day and said, I know you still love me, but I got pregnant by somebody else. My life was not okay. And I had to make some changes, and I had to take a path. Jesus never did help. But the material that Jesus teaches did. Worshiping him didn't help me. Following the direction he points is what you have to do. There's a Jesus teaching that is perfect right here. This is what fits. If you come to the altar to leave a gift, and while there you remember you have aught against your brother, don't leave your gift. Set it down. Go resolve the ought first, and then come back and give your gift. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. I will tell you how this interprets. If you are living life and you want a better life and you're doing anything you can to wish for and gain a better life, but while you're doing it, you remember that you've got issues that are unresolved that you're dragging with you, stop looking for a better life. Go resolve those issues first, then come back, and that life is going to happen automatically. At the core, Jesus' teaching is a global, universal teaching. The path to inner healing, the path to enlightenment. I'm going to contend that these are very repetitive teachings that are getting to the same point over and over in a bunch of different ways. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. Blessed are the devoid of issues, for yours is a good life. The manner in which we hold our life experiences in memory form, the way that we feel about them emotionally, the way that we perceive them in a way that they are held in their emotional state, and the strength of their emotion is what continues to act out, and we can deny that and pretend not all day long. You have to look at yourself and go, yeah, son of a... Yep, you do. You have to get to that point, and that's why it becomes rare, right there. You have to look at all of those things that you don't want to look at and resolve them until they no longer hurt. Who does that? I need to close out that story with my mom. This story would not be complete leaving that like that. She is gone. She's passed on. She had so much guilt in her life. She could not resolve her past. As a child, she was beaten and beaten and beaten and told she was stupid, dumb, was never going to amount to anything. And she was molested repeatedly out in the woodshed. She never got a chance to resolve that, and it acted out. And she was just part of a chain, and I was just part of a chain. And I had to understand that she did not have me in order to create a victim for her satisfaction. That she's acting out the way people act out, and she's experiencing life, often through triggered, unresolved issues that became my issues. And the only way for me to escape them was to know that and to forgive her and to love her and to have compassion for her plight. Who goes through the narrow gate and becomes single, like the child, 7 days old, 3-7 grid, you know that one? Pure again. Okay, well, that's it for this video. I kind of go off on my teachings there, don't I? The interpretation of the material. And that's what I'm doing. I'm reading the material. I'm not coming up with anything new on my own. I'm being taught by learning to read it. And now digging into the numbers. Of course, that's what I wanted to mention. Okay, so part of the numbering thing is this, is that a lot of people over years spot there's something in there. There's something in there. You could look at Exodus side by side with the Argonautica and go, wow, there's parallel things going on in here. All the way from being selected out as a child to having cyclical pain, to having a struggle to leave the past, to have to go through the clashing rocks or the Red Sea, that there's parallel conceptual things going on in these stories. That's not even what I'm looking at. That is what is the core story. That has to be interpreted by itself. That is a monomyth. That is a hero's journey right there. That's a journey we would take if we knew how to interpret it. This is an inner path. Now, what they're doing in the Bible is continually repeating that. But they're building a pile of terms to do that with so that it is obscured in the verbiage. It is incredibly complicated. People that look at this and start bringing math to it and, there's a lot of complexity out there with this system that people look at and go, yeah, that's just crazy. And I do the same thing. I look at it and go, you know what? You're onto something, but you're not on. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, what you're coming up with is still off base. I won't pick on anyone there. What I'm going to suggest is this, that at some interpretation level, that if you read Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus, you will find one common core teaching, and every bit of it is a mentally interactive step. If you can get there, you don't back away from that interpretation. That is what is put in there. That is what the masters put in over time in different vehicles to carry them, updating this template in new carrier packages as it goes along. And Christianity is exactly that, a new carrier package. It, however, has the thickest candy shell of anything out there. Nobody knows what's inside of there. But if you get inside of there, you will find that if I become a Buddha, or I become a Taoist, or if I follow the path laid out by Jesus through interpretation, knowing that they're just different genres of nested material that still get the same interpretation process in my mind, that they're all teaching the exact same thing. You don't worship Jesus. You do what he says. He's pointing a path. You follow that path. You know what? I need to make a correction here. You can still worship Jesus if you want to. Go for it. But there are mentally interactive steps in every one of his verses on the Sermon on the Mount or the Sermon on the Plain. If you can make those mentally interactive, you are following or understanding how to follow his path. Whether you engage with it or not is up to you. But if you understand it's an internal path and that the stuff I'm carrying is hurt, and that's what is acting out, now it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to do that or leave it in place. You can still know the path and not take it. You can know the path and take only part of it. Jesus talks about that in the Gospel of Philip. It's a part where he's talking about the intestines. When the intestines come out of the man, the man dies. If the root comes out of the ground, the tree dies. Chopping it down, it grows back. This is the idea that if we keep something inside of us, it continues to emerge over and over again. At the end, though, it goes into the idea that Jesus went into the place and cleaned out the whole place. What is that? He's going in here and resolving everything, while others did it only partially. So you can go in there and say, boy, I got a bunch of stuff from my past, but only one or two things are really messing me up. I got to resolve those. So you can do it partially. But ultimately, the idea is, for purity, is to resolve everything that bothers you from your past until it no longer bothers you. From current as well. I mean, we're really caught into this. It's not an easy thing. It is a difficult process, and it's an ongoing, typically a lifelong process. I go through it all the time. I never stop. However, I can tell you the severity of what I go through is minimal compared to what I used to. Yet, at the same time, because we sort of adjust to our average feeling, little things can feel as bad as big things used to feel. It's just the way we adjust. The more you come closer to being resolved of everything, the more little tiny things feel like really big, huge things. So, yeah. And another gotcha. If you're on the path, this is going to get you. If you ask yourself this, what is your personality type? Does it bother you to have things unresolved? Are you the kind of person that's like got all these problems and stuff like that? It's like, I don't even care. Who cares? Or are you the kind of person that sits and goes, oh my God, I feel guilt over this. I feel bad over this. If you have that kind of a personality, you're the kind of personality that wants to resolve place. We're getting into that isolation area. It's a personality thing. You're going to be the kind of person that says, you know what? I don't feel good about something. I want to resolve it. But you're going to be in a mass of people who go, shut up and get out of here. Don't talk to me, you big girl. You know, I remember talking to a guy at work one time. We had a fight between the two of us, and it was, well, I'll just leave it at that. What I remember in the end was going up to him and saying, you know what, I need to try to resolve this. It's uncomfortable in the workplace. I don't want it to be there. So I addressed him and said, I apologize for the way that I handled that. Can we talk? And his response was something like, yeah, does that make you feel better? Yeah. So there are people that are going to be like, I don't even want to talk to you. Meanwhile, you need to talk to somebody. You got to work that out. We're isolated. Work it out. Find somebody to talk to. You need to find some way to unburden yourself in a safe place. All right, well, I should end this video. And since I know that I'm known by my own fruits too, I can look at this video and see that I started out talking about the comments and how that happened. But what do I end up with? I keep drifting back into where I actually should be going with the material. That's the best thing. It's the best place that I could go. It's where I want to go. It's what I'm most interested in. However, the activity sometimes is so quiet that negative attention sometimes the only damn attention you get. Just look at the channel. You see it. Okay. I hope you understand people out there more. The simple, again, I described it in a previous video, like a simple organic automaton that's just going over and over and then claiming a victory without, it's like what? Fine. Whatever makes you happy. Again, it's obviously not the best thing I can be doing. So I don't know. Reaching out, trying, testing, test, trying to figure it out. It's been a lot of growth. If you were around from the first videos till now, you'll see I've learned a lot. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just keep digging into this, and making the videos helps me learn more. So the deeper I get into it, the more you kind of lose people. I got a Gnostic guy that shows up from time to time that just, whenever I post some updated interpretations of the Gospel of Thomas, he comes back and likens himself as the expert without having any videos up, and make sure to post everybody how mean and stupid and whatever I am, and how I'm ready to attack him, and how I don't know anything, and I'm not finding any patterns, and I'm lying to people and leading them astray. And it's the same kind of thing. You look at that and go, wow, there's just some, I'm pointing, not preaching. It's very weird. People can't see that. We're dealing with brain types. We're out here in public. And I will say without any hesitation, the best thing to do with them when you're out there doing things is never even respond to them. Just they'll hook into anything. They're like little leeches. Oh, here's somebody said something. Let me start running this loop again. All you do is just ignore them. That's the thing to do. What I'm doing is pushing the reset button so we can see the action. It's predictable. It's all they got. All right. Yeah, well, I don't know if it's all they got, but it's all they bring to the table. Obviously, it's almost like even when it's gentle, it's so, I don't know. It's very condescending. It just feels so phony. It really should. To the right person that has the right sensitivity, it should just feel creepy when people do that. It does to me. It's an alert. It's not just, somebody left me a comment. There's things in there that are just loaded, that are like little barbs. That's how you see it. But that takes a while to get there. It's understanding the cause and effect, and then seeing it happen enough and going through enough experiences that you recognize the patterns. And that's exactly what we're doing. Cause and effect cycles. That runs the universe. We just give them their frequency. Emotion. All right. See you in the next video.